Hello and welcome to the Free Outside Show. I'm just doing my best right now. Oh my God, I have so much post-trail depression. I think it's really hard when you go from the Appalachian Trail and setting the record in 45 days. You're just focused on one thing. And it's like go back to normal life and do exactly your life before the trail, even though you're a changed person. Because I changed in so many ways. I thought today we could do a couple fun things. First off, I thought I would go through all the famous people that I've heard from. Just, I want to throw a thank you back out there. So, thank you to the Pope for congratulating me on the Appalachian Trail self-supported record. Thank you to Aaron Judge. I know you're busy playing baseball, but that was a really nice DM that I got from you. Thank you to Donnie T and Barack Obama, Joe Biden. Man, there must be like a group text of presidents because they all heard about my record and it was so cool to hear from them. And that combined with the Pope is sort of like ultimate power. Olivia Rodrigo, thank you for the message. Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco. I know you just had a wedding, but it was really cool to get that message from you. So yeah, thank you. I think we've really made our way into the mainstream with some of the kind, heartfelt messages that I got from people out there. Jason Bateman, that was a pretty funny video that you sent me. Wow, I wish I could play that out loud for everyone. So now that we've gone through the bulk of, there was a few B-list celebrities that also gave me nice messages and sent me texts, but that's the bulk of the famous people that we're celebrating the Appalachian Trail record. I thought it would be fun today to do like a report card and grade the aspects of the FKT, and it might be a good way for me to talk about them as well. But first, another 200 happened. How are these 200s so popular? I get why they're popular. Of course, I do Cocodona 250 every single year, but Mammoth 200 happened. I think it was 214 miles, and it was kind of crazy to watch because it turned out to not be very competitive. Initially, the reports or the start list was very competitive with a bunch of people stepping up, and in the end, it didn't seem to be very competitive. I think it's going to be a hard one to get a competitive field at because it's so early in the year. And it just takes out a lot of the premier runners that run 100s or want to chase golden tickets and stuff. Whereas Cocodona, it does impede a little bit on Western states, but the golden ticket series or attempt is largely wrapped up by then, so you can get a more competitive field there. And even though Cocodona 250 does not offer prize money, I think it's just always going to have a more competitive field because of the live stream reach and maybe the understanding the intrigue. It's got different sections, different variability, different difficulty, whereas it felt like Mammoth was a lot on dirt roads. Like it felt like you could see all the beauty, but you weren't necessarily running in it, and you were kind of east of the 395 for some of it. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it might be a little bit more competitive. Tuned in early on, but kind of didn't tune in from there. It was cool to see Jimmy Elam step up and do a 200-mile race because I think he's a very good athlete that no one knows about. All right, that's basically all on that. I thought it was going to be better race. The views and the drone shots were incredible, but that is a good lesson that you don't tune into movies, video, or live stream for the drone shots. Videographers love them, but when you actually get to the meat of telling a story, yeah, they do not matter. As someone who made a movie and learned from an editor, like you can have so many good drone shots, but you're going to use like a fraction of them because they don't tell a story. They just set the tone for beauty. Speaking of beauty, let's dive in to my Appalachian Trail through hike. And why do they call it Appalachian? This probably bothers some people, but it does come from the tribe. I believe it was down in Florida. Uh, I think it's Apalachicola. My girlfriend Allison actually did a full research deep dive on this, but I didn't grab any of the research for this. So I'm just going to spout it to an audience, not knowing everything, but some of the things. This is research in modern days. This is how you spread facts and tell people things. You just do a little bit of research or you hear it secondhand. The best is if you hear it third hand and it's through a social media service. That's when you know you're on the right track. So it's Appalachia because Apalachicola, tribe down there, Appalachia. And and then they named it the Appalachian Mountains. And so that persisted, but people up north, damn Yankees, ruined it for everyone by calling it Appalachian. So it's Appalachian, but of course, I'm not going to try to change the world. Have you seen the world now? I was going to say it was crazy. So I flew out there on August 5th. I had to move my flight back 2 days due to a piece of gear that took a little longer in the mail to show up. So I moved my flight back 2 days. And so from August 5th to, let's see, I got home on September 23rd. Think about how much happened in the world. And meanwhile, I'm just out there on the trail trying to set a record on the Appalachian Trail. And I'm just like down in Tylenol. No one's telling me the effects of Tylenol while I'm out there. I was ignoring the news. I was just going about my business. I also didn't know that you could be um, a a Christ-like figure just as an influencer who debates people at colleges, but apparently that happened while I was out there. It was really quite a shock to come back to the world and be like, wow, there was no warning label on this Tylenol, so I need to brace myself for being bothered by loud sounds, abrasive surfaces, and getting really good at math. Shoot, I was just going to cuss, but I actually started out all those things. So maybe the year's worth of FKTs and through hiking and Tylenol have already had their impact on me. So it was just the cherry on top to be dosing that out there. I didn't take too many pills that I knew of while I was out there, but I came back to a world that is a lot more divisive. I think when you see it happen every single day, you don't realize the change in the country, but just even seeing like Jimmy Kimmel get canceled for jokes and stuff, it's just like a very different world and some of the ICE stuff. And you guys can guess my political opinions, but overall, we can direct all this attention to the Trevor Project fundraiser is still running. And I thought raising money for the Trevor Project would be a good way to do my little fight against whatever the heck is going on in our country. And so you can donate to that. It's in my Instagram bio. I'm going to drop the link below. So the Trevor Project provides services to the LGBTQ plus community, basically they are saving services. I've used similar services like a texting crisis line, and it's really cool because when you've had so much Tylenol you can't talk on the phone anymore, sometimes you just need to text in for support when you're in a low spot or needing to get through something. So I think that's a huge thing. They also offer counseling and therapy, and I have attended counseling and therapy. If newsflash, I don't know if I've ever said this, if you do need to go to therapy, like, don't stress it. The first therapist might not be for you. It wasn't for me. I walked out of there and was like, what the heck? This guy's trying to be my friend. This is not a good fit. And it took two more, but eventually I found a good therapist. So if this is a route you're going down, just patience. It's okay to not like everyone. I know that it's hard, especially if you're of the mindset and the Tylenol eating subset of the population, such as myself, where you want to please everyone and you bend your life over backwards and give away all your money to please people. It's okay to take it slow on finding a good fit on the therapist front. Okay, we got to get into this report card. I feel like I've taken a bunch of tangents, but I still got a lot of brain fog and I couldn't even find a shirt this morning. So I'm just like a talking head here. But I do have a new home. I have been homeless for since July 1st. Holy cow. Wow, that is a chunk. But back in my younger days, I would be homeless without a car. Right now, I have two cars if anyone's looking to buy a Ford Escape. It's a hybrid. But I found a place, so we are live in the podcast studio. It's actually just a bedroom, but maybe we'll dress this up, maybe we won't. But let's get to what actually happened on the Appalachian Trail. Just kidding. That's going to be for a book or something. Maybe we'll get to some stories, but I wanted to do a report card. So what do? I don't even know if ChatGPT is still relevant, but it's what I used. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, I want to give myself a report card for the Appalachian Trail FKT. What should the categories be? And this is what it came up with. And so this is going to be the framework for the rest of our episode. Here we go. Cue the air horn sound. Pause for it to take effect. Okay. Number one category, physical execution. Man. So pacing and consistency, sleep and recovery, um, injuries, body management. I'm gonna give myself an A minus. I think I did very good on injury management, body management, the right amount of sleep to get to the end. I think I somewhat poorly executed in New York. I think a lot of factors just weighed on me. I was in a bad mood. My poles broke. It was really hard to be present at that time, and it was just really technical trail. I don't know. New York was just hard this time and when I did the Appalachian Trail in the winter. So that is the only state I think that's going to knock me down a peg. A lot of things were out of my control out there, but I was able to manage pretty good on the physical side of just keep going and continue to eat and everything like that. All the things to fuel myself physically. As for sleep, my schedule was I got 6 hours of sleep for the first 400 miles. Why do I keep saying this? This is not true. The plan was to get 6 hours of sleep for the first 400 miles, and I did for the first 4 days. And then I just started going deeper and deeper into the night. There's less places to camp and sleep, like, the Saddleback Mountains. You have to get through the whole thing, and I started them at sunset, so that meant I had to traverse the very rugged, I don't know, 5 miles across the crest of the small mountain range in Maine. And so all of these weighed on my sleep, and I would still get up at 4 a.m. So I probably got 4 to 5 hours a night, even though mentally I feel like I should, and I did get 6 hours. I climbed Mount Washington at 11 p.m. Like, where are the 6 hours coming from? So, yeah, I guess we'll go B plus actually on physical execution since in my mind, what I credit myself with getting and what I actually got are different. Maybe that is the goal of an FKT is you just gaslight yourself into thinking that you're healthier, you're doing better, or you're getting more sleep than you think, but actually you're not. So yeah, it went pretty good. I met calorie and sodium goals. I had a bunch of salt pills. I used a lot more in training because the weather actually cooled off. So my goal was starting in early August was to try to follow that window of fall through as many states as I could. So I hit it probably, oh, let's just say maybe Connecticut or something. It started to feel like fall. And then I rode it really all the way into Georgia. Like it was very fall feeling. I even got some thunderstorms and it was cooler weather. Maine was very hot and there was no water. A lot of the creeks were dried up. So that was really tough. I had to do longer water carries and get used to just looking about 15 miles ahead on what the water situation was because sometimes there would only be one water source every 15 miles and so that was a little bit tricky, but once I got in that habit, I rode that to the end and I hit like really good weather for the most part. I got, I think, 7 days of rain. Probably three of them were pretty extensive. There was a hurricane and the outsweeping wings of that hurricane. That's how I think of it in my mind, but I don't really know what the terminology of hurricaning is. But the outsweeping wing of the hurricane wrapped its feathers around me as I was in Vermont and poured rain on me. So that created some foot issues. I can only wear Crocs because I have some cracks on the bottom of my feet, and if that sounds like I'm a statue in a museum, it's because I probably should be. I'm moving about as much as they do. So, I'm putting on a lot of lotion, trying to soften up these feet so that they can handle what life brings in the future, and we will get to that. All right, so we'll go B plus on physical execution, foot issues. There's quite a bit of weather to deal with, but I think I did pretty good coming through it. Let's go with nutrition as a category, even though Chat Gupta did not present that as an option. Reprimand. I will send a strongly worded letter to OpenAI. How open it can it be, actually? Um, so nutrition. I trained with so I wrote a Substack and I said that I spent months gut training and trying some unique strategies, and that's what I did. So I thought I would share a little bit about that. So my mom came up with these bars that were 1,000 calories per bar. They were about 6 ounces. I also came up with this drink mix that was 1,000 calories with like protein in it and like good stuff. Yeah, it had like coconut milk. It had chia seeds. It had what else did it have? It had other stuff. I gotta look it up. I'm brain dead, so forgive me now and please subscribe. Thank you very much. Subscribe to my Substack too. Eventually, I'll learn how to type on a computer again. But so that was 2,000 calories every single day, and what I did was I started going on a lot of runs in the early summer after Cocodona and through, training camp where I would take 1,000 calories in, usually through that drink mix or a few other things, and then do a 90-minute run or so, and this was just gut training of I'm doing a higher intensity effort right after consuming what I wanna consume every 90 minutes or so, but I'm loading it in one small period and then having my body and gut trained to be able to exercise and move while processing that. So that's what I did a lot. I've given this workout to athletes, not in the volume of 1,000 calories because that is just a lot. And for most ultra races, you're probably never consuming 1,000 calories at a time, unless it's maybe a 200 and you just went to Jack in the Box or something. But so I've given this like eat and run workout before, but I'd never done it to this extent. Another thing that I did was I would eat and run and heat train. So I wanted to and sometimes, the steam room too, if I could get that specific of just humidity, high body temperature, and your stomach, and this is a big issue of heat training, especially in Montana, but I wanted to get as close as I could while I lived out here, and then I went to the East Coast and got to really, prepare and plan and use my actual calories that I was gonna use while I was out there to see if it worked, and the good thing is I went out there and tested it and found a few things that didn't work, so I substituted out some nuts, like, nuts are really good, they have so much protein and calories, and they're light compared to how many calories they have, but they also are, like, not palatable after you eat, like, a few handfuls, so I can only eat so many nuts a day. What I found is I could dress up the nuts, like, put them in trail mix or with dried fruit or something like that. So I kind of redid some of my food strategy around that training camp, deciding what worked, what didn't work, and how I was gonna change it. So that's what I did. I came back and changed it, and I would give my food strategy an A minus. The only hiccup is when I got to Big Meadows Lodge in Shenandoah National Park, and my box wasn't there because they'd thrown it out. That was disappointing because that had my battery bank, it had a spare pair of socks, it had all my food for 167 miles. So 20 miles later or 32 miles later, I had to buy $200 worth of food. I remember it I guessed the cashier was ringing the employee was ringing it up, and I was like, "I bet it's $200." She's like, "Oh, we'll see." And it was $200.32. Yeah, big Tylenol guy. I know numbers. Uh, yeah, so that was basically candy bars. Imagine going into a gas station and you have to buy what you're gonna eat for 3 days. So it wasn't like good food, it wasn't like fueling my body, as a premier athlete ready to go, like, excited that I have 25, Milky Ways, like, this was not perfect, and, that was the only hiccup, so I'll give myself an A minus once again. Everything worked really good. I was able to eat all the food I packed from beginning to end. In fact, I finished every single calorie I mailed myself. I didn't throw anything away. Maybe I traded some pecans or something for, like, something better in a town, but other than that, I was really good about eating. I was really good. I packed and mailed myself about 8,000 calories a day and was able to supplement 1 to 2,000 calories a day depending on the location and the section, but went really good. It was really centered around, emotionally uplifting foods. I would be like, "I love my goldfish. Pepperidge Farms, please reach out. I'm looking for a partnership such as that. It's the snack that smiles back. Goldfish, they always got your back." So, some of that, and then some nuts, those date bars, the drink mix, things like chips, everything. So I'd say like half really good, clean calories, and then half emotionally uplifting. Good calories that you want, like, if it's like 10 p.m., maybe you want a Snickers, maybe you need a Snickers, maybe you gotta have a Snickers. So I had a Snickers. So let's go A minus on nutrition. So we're at B plus on physical execution, A minus on nutrition. Let's go a mental and emotional game. Wow, combining those is tough. Well, I did cry out there. So is that bad or good? This is where we need like a panel of judges to tell me what grade I got. Maybe like the slam dunk contest where like Shaq's holding up 10 points and like Vince Carter holds up like 7 points. And if you're not a sports fan, you don't get this reference for like 6 points. Um, so yeah, mental and emotional game. This is going to be tough because let's just talk through it. So in Maine, It was awesome. I was, like, really stoked to be started. I was, like, kind of figuring out everything. I'd already gotten the thru hiker mindset by doing my training camp out there, following far out guides, which tells you where the water is. It has, like, comments on how recently someone used it, how well, the sources, how reliable things are, campsites, all that. So I'd gotten in this mindset of, like, planning out my day, following things. But I had to, like, really conceptualize and get into the fact of, like, how each day is structured, and what I mean is, let's say I wake up at 4. I usually wanna have, 10 to 12 miles done in those first 4 hours, because maybe that includes a bathroom break or things, and or just slower starting the day. And so I need, like, these benchmarks in my day, in my head to break up days, so maybe it's, like, 10 miles by 8, and then another 10, 20 miles done by 11, and, 30 miles by 2, and then maybe in the afternoon, I take it slower and jump in a creek or something. So maybe, 30 like, 40 miles by 6, and then try to get to 50 by 10 or 11. And that's kind of the mental framework that, governs one of these FKTs, is you just have to be very regimented and break it down into a granular plan so that you don't have to think about 2,200 miles. You're thinking about each day and trying to hit those metrics each day, and some days you'll miss them, but you'll just be slightly off and you can adjust from there, and that's kinda where that mental resilience comes in when things don't go according to plan, but you're trying to slot and pace against it so that each day adds up into something productive. And then the other mental side of it that I key into, so there's that granular side of how to get each day done and have a day that stacks and fits into the greater plan. The other side is having this mindset that if yesterday sucked or if I have a bad day, I just have to let it go. Like, I can't change it anymore. We have to move into tomorrow, and that's a new day. It's a new chance. It's a new ability to have a good day. Or even if I had a bad morning, I can have a good afternoon. So that is probably the biggest mental side of one of these longer things, of being able to let go. If something goes wrong, because it will, you have to be able to let go and continue on and feel like you still got a chance. And then when things really got tough out there, my back is tired, so I'm gonna lean back. Lean back. Yeah, like when my resupply box didn't show up, or I was just dragging in New York and broke a pole, or when I mailed myself 2 left shoes. I was just packing everything, all 18 boxes at once here, and I put 2 left shoes in the same box, and that went to Glencliff, my first location I was getting new shoes, and that was devastating. But I was really emotionally able to be flexible. What would you call it? The elasticity of emotions. That's like a good, Simon Sinek book title or something. But I was really able to bounce back from that, so it was just, like, problem-solving mindset, and some of these things were devastating, like my shoes. The front of it ripped out, and my toes were poking through, and I, uh, made a video and was like, "Peekaboo," moving my feet. I'll post that video, so if you wanna go on the Free Outside Podcast Instagram or TikTok. I'll post that video because it's pretty funny of what I was dealing with out there. And it was all my own creation. And a lot of these things I had to key back into that. Or in the Smokies, I left my electronics bag just sitting near a shelter where I was taking a break, charging stuff, and gone forever. But I just had to let that go and move into problem solving and use the resources available. And I think I did pretty good. There were certainly lows, there were doubts. There were probably 2 days where it was like, "I don't know if I can get this," but it was always an "I don't know." It wasn't like, "I'm not gonna get this." And as soon as you go concrete negative or concrete failure, you're done for, you're not gonna make it. So, luckily, I never got to concrete failure mode, and so for that, I will give myself a B plus. Good job, Jeff. All right. So emotion ChatGPT listed the categories under mental and emotional game. Resilience, ability to suffer, A plus there. Man, I sure suffered. I'm a wreck mentally, emotionally, physically. My brain is a fog. I feel like the thick fog of the Smokies, or like a fog machine for Halloween. I feel like it's just like pumping smoke out my ears right now. That's like how little's going on up top, but here we are making content for you guys. No, it's mostly for me. I gotta unpack this. I'm gotta restart therapy soon because I don't know if talking to a camera at 6:30 in the morning in a spare bedroom is filling the void, but we're forcing it to today. ChatGPT also said problem solving. How'd you adapt when plans went wrong? A plus because I was able to. Motivation and focus. Did you keep your why clear across the whole effort? Yeah. You can listen to, there was a whole episode on my why that you can find on YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere else podcasts are sold. Emotional regulation. Did I manage highs and lows, mood swings? I got so angry a couple times that like I could feel it in my bones. So that's my only downfall, where I think it's going to give me a B plus in the category. Okay, on to the next category, logistics and strategery, as GW would say. Gear choices. Did your kit meet the demands? My gear was perfect. I was a little light on some of the charging capabilities. I just didn't factor in that the days were going to get longer. I know, stupid mistake, but the days were actually not getting longer. That was a false statement. All right. Must be watching too much Fox News, reading too much Facebook, you know? Gear choices. They were great. I didn't realize the nights were going to get longer, so I needed more headlamp charging capability. I actually had 2 headlamps, so one could be charging while I was wearing the other, and I had a spare battery for the headlamps. So that's how I navigated 12 hours of darkness, and by the end, I was hiking through most of it. I tried to only run portions during the day because I was a little nervous at night. As I got more tired, my depth perception was just a mess, and I was like kicking rocks and hurting my toes all the time. That I tried to keep it a solid hiking pace and not worry so much about the running aspect of this long, arduous FKT. Resupply execution. Were mail drops timed and stocked properly? No, because one didn't show up. But the logistics and the locations were perfect. It was just a really tricky resupply in Shenandoah. You mail it to one location and then they take it up to the lodge. And apparently a mouse got in at some point and they decided to throw away the whole thing, and thus devastating Jeff Garmire. But Jeff Garmire does overcome. So he did. Navigation and timing. I feel like I started and my window was pretty perfect. I avoided this current government shutdown, which is just atrocious. Man, we're not a political podcast, but we could be. Let me know in the comments. So it was nice to hit that time of year. It meant Maine was a little hot, but then I hit good temperatures and good weather for most of the rest of it. And then I could deal with the rain for the most part, except for 4 days from the end when it was just like torrential downpour and thunderstorms and just misery. It was a little tough to be motivated because it was just like, if it keeps raining like this, I don't know if I can set the record. Luckily, there were enough breaks I could add enough miles and made it through the night. There was one morning, I think it was 3 nights from the end, where I slept for 1 hour and I woke up when it started raining on me. And it was just like, I guess it's time to get up, because I didn't set up my tarp or sleep in many shelters. I think I slept in 2 during rainstorms just to protect me from the rain. But usually I would just like sleep near a shelter or next to the trail or just anywhere I dropped. And this one, it started raining and I'm feeling it on my face. And it's like, where am I? Okay, I'm doing the AT. Okay. My trekking poles, good thing they're pointed the direction that I need to go on the trail. So I'm going to do that. And then it was just like, okay, I got to tape my feet. I gotta put my socks on. Then I got to put my shoes on. Then I got to go start going. And it was like, okay, yeah, it's not raining that hard. So that's what I did. And that was a shocking way to wake up, let me tell you. But yeah, I'd say for the most part, everything was good. Southbound plan was great. My splits were about a day and a half off just because so much went wrong, but you know, that gave me a buffer. Still got the record. I still think someone could break 44 days out there, but who knows? It's really hard to guess because it's like something's going to go wrong for everyone. Everyone has a different skill set. Something's going to impact somebody else in a different way than it impacted me, or might not be a factor for me, but a factor for them. So it's really hard to know what is possible. And I think it's a very individualized thing. And I just came up with that spreadsheet after my time training out there. And, you know, it got me the record. Here we are, shirtless in Bozeman, which is the title of my Western that might, you know, just might blur the lines of sexuality. All right. So we're gonna go with logistics and strategy. We're gonna go B plus. I think went pretty good. Yeah, I could have executed some resupplies earlier on better or been more efficient, but early on it was just so nice to get to a place to hang out or stay. But yeah, I by the end it was like 20 minutes in town and then I was back out into it. Environmental adaptation is our next category that Chat Gupta gave us. Weather handling, rain, heat, cold storms, mud. I mean, I did good. I packed what I wanted to pack and I made it work. So A plus in that subcategory or 10 out of 10. Terrain management. I moved really well through most of it. New York and Connecticut maybe are the two where it's like I could have done better, but I didn't. So, but I'm going to give myself some grace. Like I moved pretty well up to that point and pretty well after it. And then when I had a number of things go wrong and realized I was behind about the halfway point, I was able to pick it up and make good use of my time and my days out there and finish the last part in about 21 days. So that's impressive, right? Do the math on that, will you? Wildlife and random encounters, mice, moose, people, trail magic. Not a lot of trail magic. Everyone was up north. Both southbounders headed south and northbounders headed north. The trail magic really ended very early on, maybe in Vermont or so, but it's okay. Made the most of it. There were mice out there. Some cuddled up to me a few times, and so I have a lot of new pen pals out there. We have to write back and forth on acorns just so that I make sure that they get the messages that I'm sending out to them. The squirrels and mice out there, really good people, man. They are very grounded. Let me tell you, those ground squirrels grounded. Moose, saw them, people saw them. No real negative interactions, I would say. Yeah, we'll give the whole environmental adaptation category. Let's go A. I think we always want to like shoot ourselves or bring ourselves down, but when we deserve like 100%, let's just take it, man. Yeah, dude. So let's go A on that. Community and storytelling. I don't know why Chat Jipita gave this a category. Um, yeah, I'd say self-supported and documentation and, fundraising for the Trevor Project, you can still donate. I encourage you to donate. I'd say A on that as well, like, Allison did such a good job posting stuff, and maybe there could have been more set up with brands to put the stuff out or storytelling around it, but I scheduled, like, 18 podcasts that came out. You better subscribe just for that fact, all the hard work I put in. So I think that's commendable. I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back for that. And then, yeah, a story came out almost every day. There was one day I didn't want to do one because my poles had broken. I was really frustrated, but Allison made one herself. So I'm gonna give myself an A on storytelling, sharing all that too. My tracker, it died one day, but I had my watch to back up that data. So I just tracked that day with my watch and yeah, everything I think went fairly well as far as like tracking storytelling, involving people. We had the Corsa Run app, which I was not that enthralled. It felt like the mileage was off and the vert was off, and people could actually see the real time data versus I wanted it delayed. So people would meet up and they're just for safety and stuff too out there, but I guess people could actually find the real-time data on the site. So that was a little disappointing, but not my thing. I'm not a tech wizard yet. Okay, so what grades did we give myself? I don't remember. Physical execution, I think that was an A minus. Mental and emotional game, I think B plus. Logistics and strategy, I think that was in a B plus. Environmental adaptation, A minus. A. Community and storytelling, A. Wow. What does that make my GPA? 3.7. Wow. Look, mom, I'm going to Harvard. All right. Good job, Jeff. So overall, a 3.7 GPA. We are looking to give commencement speech addresses, commencement speaking addresses, addresses at the speech of commencement at any colleges that will have us. With this content, who could not be on board? I will bring my own Tylenol. We will not put you at liability risk for these feet and also this brain at this time. So that's my report card. That's how I think it all went. I did get some. Let's do this. I got some questions too, and then oh man, we got a lot of things to do. I'm sorry. This is going to be a great episode. You're welcome. Okay, let's look. Some people sent in some questions about like things that happened out there, so I'm going to try to read them if I can find them. Uh, wow. Here we go. Killing air, dead air. No big deal. Pausing. I know they were in here somewhere. Oh boy. I thought we could find them, but maybe not. Maybe they're in this folder. Okay. Question. Weren't you scared of running at night? Going off route? How did you keep yourself calm? Yeah, that's why I walked most of the time. I looked at my phone more often and I just made sure that I was on the correct path out there. Night's never scary for me, but it's always like a little bit, uh, it, like, puts me to sleep, like, you only see the beam of your headlamp, so it's a little bit hard to stay engaged to the same level that you are during the day when there's so many more stimuli out there. So I just keep myself calm by just focusing in. I can put in music, but also just, like, focus in on what are my goals for the night, where am I going, stay engaged to the train, like, in a mile, this creek's coming up, in 2 miles, this campsite's coming up. Like, these aspects that I can key into versus, like, the entire thing of how am I gonna do 6 more hours at night? When I think about it like that, it puts me right to sleep because it's a little bit overwhelming, so it's just micromanaging your night, and that makes it a lot more achievable. Also, a life hack is brushing your teeth. It just makes you feel fresher, alert. It just, like, touches your mouth in a different way. Man, that statement could be taken out of context. All right, next question. How did you train for injury prevention? Just putting in the specific work. I did a lot of weighted work as far as like all my runs or hikes with Vert were with a pack for the last couple months leading in. So I just trained really specifically. And then going out to the actual terrain, I got an idea what I was doing and kind of the stabilizer muscles got very engaged through the White Mountains and stuff. And so I think just specificity. And through this time, I was still doing one track workout a week, trying to raise my VO2 max and stay in touch with like that heavy breathing side of fitness. If you're new here, I coach, so I know a thing or two. Yeah, like back in my day when we didn't do any speed work, people were slower, believe it or not. Yeah. Okay, moving on. That was probably pretty stupid. What would you have done differently? Well, I wouldn't have mailed myself 2 left shoes. I wouldn't have lost my, electronics bag. I wouldn't have, called in cloud seeding the last 4 days I was on the trail because there was so much rain. Also, I just would have made the trail easier. I would have, come up with $1 billion for them to rake the trail and clear it for all rocks so that I could move faster. I would invent meals that were denser calories. I would probably have just taken more Tylenol and lean into my mathematics ability. I don't know. It's really hard to know what I would have done differently because if I do something differently, it'll have a cascading effect of affecting things downstream and other things like I could have taken a better rain jacket, but that's going to be slightly heavier. And that means slightly heavier over 2,200 miles. That actually does have an impact. So I don't know. I'm content with things. I could have been faster, but the luck to go faster wasn't on my side, but I did have the luck to get the record. So I don't know. I'm not really in the weeds about this thing about what I would have done differently. I'm feel very lucky that it worked out the way it did. It was the conjunction of experience, hard work, and luck for it all to come together. So I'm I'm not gonna hit on that one too much. I think I'm pretty happy with how it went. I wish I was still doing it. I'm depressed. Okay. What was the hardest section for you? Moving right along. New York was very hard. It just felt like everything hurt there. Everything happened there. I had falls. I twisted ankles. I broke poles. It was just in a low point. I think it was just really hard to manage expectations of myself from myself and the people following and just realize that I have to do a lot of miles per day to get this record. And there was just a lot of doubt in that state. And I don't know if it's the New York state of mind or what, but New York was tough. I would just say that was the hardest section for me. Let's see. Do we have any others? How do you not give up when it gets the hardest? Like, how do you not give into your thoughts or feelings? I don't know. Probably experience. I always talk about, and in my book, Buy It Now, free outside, anywhere books are sold. I think about the toughness groove. So you get this groove, maybe you're born with it. Maybe you're born with a flat piece of wood. And every time you do something hard, you get a little tiny groove just like planed down that piece of wood. And every time you do, it just gets a little bit deeper. And so the more you do hard things, or even get up in the night to get a glass of water, or get up to go pee instead of being lazy, like every time you go against being lazy or do something hard, you get to make that toughness groove just a little bit deeper. And then you always have that groove to draw on. And I think that's a huge part of it. Is my toughness groove is pretty deep. I've lived in a tent for the about 3 years of my life. I haven't had a home for years at a time. I've hitchhiked. I haven't had a car for years at a time. I've really just lived flexibly too. So I think that mindset of mental elasticity, of just making any situation work and bend it to your desires, abilities, or goals, I think is a huge thing that I've learned to do. That it's just building of experience. I think a record like this does take some form of experience because it is so self-reliant that you need to have some idea of how you work in those scenarios. So that is that. Oh, I also am going to, on Apple Podcast, if you guys ever go there, I rarely do, but the dark side. Thanks, Tim Cook. I was going to read some recent reviews. So thank you so much. Give us a rating or review. It helps the show out. We're also on YouTube. There's a Substack where I write things. You should check it out. Also, johnji.com, code free outside, will get you a discount. And I would highly suggest the Snappy Trekker shirt. That's what I wore. It held up the entire Appalachian Trail. So that's like wear testing to the max. You're welcome, John G. And also the Ultra 5-inch shorts. Big fan because they have pockets, and pockets are sick, right? Yeah, the gear worked really good. And then they have like fleece line tights and wool sweaters and stuff like that. And, college hoodies and just really fashionable stuff for Gen Z. So check out John J. Yeah, check them out. They sponsored me. They sponsored the podcast. And I wore their stuff before they sponsored me. So that's how you know it's an organic relationship. Also, I have a signature meal at ReadyWise. You can buy it from Walmart even, or online. My face is on it. It's pretty good. It's a breakfast scramble. And then Garage Grown Gear. They sell all the gear that I got there. So I got like an Enlighten Equipment 50-degree synthetic sleeping bag that weighed like 12 ounces. That's what I used out there. I used headlamps. I used tracking poles. I use so much stuff from Garage Grown Gear. So check it out. I don't know if there's a code there, but probably you could they probably got a sale going on at some point. So definitely check it out. But their stuff, it's really good. And it's a marketplace for small businesses. I should hit on this more because it's actually a brilliant thing. So your mom snows mitts at her house. She can sell on Garage Grown Gear, and it's next to a brand like, what's a brand runners even know? Norda. It's next to those shoes. So they market and bring people to that site so that they can shop all these different products, all small products. And they really help on the marketing side of putting these products in front of people because they're great products. But if you're good at selling in your garage, what are the chances that you're a marketing genius? I'll leave that as a rhetorical question. I don't even think that's a rhetorical question. Okay. We're going to read some podcast reviews. Also CS Coffee. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Premium instant freeze-dried coffee. I think you can get it at Garage Grown Gear, but if not, you can get it at csinstant.coffee. That is a web address. Okay, Snuggle Kitten 101. Wow, way to my heart is a snuggle kitten. I love touching. Hashtag Tylenol. Not. Okay, this guy is so inspiring. Love the show. Exclamation point. Thank you. HGR3 nickname. So I think you would pronounce this Hugger3 nickname. What is up with hugs and snuggles? Wow. Yeah, exclamation point. Great podcast. Jeff is so fun, insightful, and informative. Emily Galusha, 5 stars all day. All right. Jeff is such an inspiration. I'm honored to listen to his podcast. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, this is a long one. Buckle up. Single Track Surfer, one of the best podcasts in the trail run / FKT / through hike genre. Jeff feels like a friend and maybe is a friend. Sure, buddy, let's be friends. He's humble and comes across and genuine, just following his own path, and I really like that. There's already a bunch of standard interview type A stuff out there. What are you calling me, a beta? It's cool to listen to a guy who I'd actually want to share miles with. Sweet bro, let's share some miles. Single Track Surfer is such a good tagline too. I think that's pretty sick. Although double track's pretty good for dates because you can like hold hands and each walk in a rut. Pretty sick. All right, Amy Briggs writes, great podcast. Jeff has a wealth of knowledge in so many areas. I like his easygoing style as well as his interviews. Not sure what's going on with the subliminal messages? ? Yeah, me neither. Sky.McKinley. There's literally no one in the world funnier than Jeff Garmeyer. That is the perfect use of literally. Love Your Pod by Andy434343. Great content. Nice. Trail Racer 78 says, checkmark, smiley face, thumbs up, fire emoji, balloon emoji, winky face. What's that spell? No clue because I'm a millennial and I'm out of touch. And then, holy cow, we got so many reviews. Thank you guys. My Camel wrote, beat podcast in the world. Don't quote me on it though. I think they meant best, but that's okay. We can also be the beat podcast. Her Match said, excellent pod, informative, funny, interesting, authentic. I hope to earn a prestigious Jeffrey Award one day. If you don't know, we give out Jeffrey Awards at the end of every year, and they are fun categories. Like last year, we did the Hayden Hawks Trail Runner of the Year. 3 guesses who that went to. We also did Influencer of the Year. We did the They Still Run Award, the Walker of the Year. Yeah, we have a good time. So thank you for leaving those awards. You can leave your own funny one, and I may remember to read it sometime. So support the Trevor Project. That's where I would direct you. First off, pause so that you go to the Trevor Project and donate, because maybe we can hit 40,000. All right, now that you've done that, you can follow the podcast on Instagram, Free Outside Podcast, on TikTok, because I'm trying to be Gen Z, I guess, or something. At least my bleached hair is. And you can follow my Substack, Free Outside, YouTube channel, Free Outside. You can read my book, Free Outside. You can watch my movie, Free Outside. You can eat my meal from Ready Wise. What else? I don't even know. Please subscribe to the podcast, and thank you all. Thank you all so much. I was going to try to use a different tagline because I use a tagline, but I can't remember which one I'm going to use. I'm going to try out this new one. Shoot. What is it called? Okay, we are just killing time here. Okay, I'm going to do 2 taglines at the end of this one. Let me know what you think. Here we go. This is the ending of the Free Outside Podcast. Stay mid, America, and stay elite, my friends.